check. Okay?
Let him concentrate, Jackson. He has no experience.
Thank you.
Gordon, go!
Come on.
Go, Gordon, go!
Remember 2009? Can you believe it's already been 15 years? Back in 2009, we were still in the midst of the Great Recession. Barack Obama started his first term as America's first black president. It was the year Michael Jackson passed. MySpace was still the most popular social media networking site. And we were still digging through DVD bins at Walmart. For some reason, it seems like every movie that came out that year was a box office smash and was critically acclaimed. Let's go back in time and revisit some of the best and most memorable movies from 2009. Precious was a drama based on the novel by Stepfather. It told the story of a heavyset teen, played by Gabourey Sidibe. She was coming of age in New York City during the late 80s. She lived with her abusive mother, played by comedian Monique, who prior to the film was known mainly for her comedic chops. After Precious became pregnant by her father for the second time, and yes, you heard that right, she's forced into alternative school. It was Sidibe's breakout role and earned Monique an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress at the 82nd ceremony. The film featured many cameos by famous celebs and was directed by Lee Daniels. It received much critical acclaim, winning awards globally. The Stepfather, a remake of the 1987 film of the same name, this psychological thriller keeps you on the edge of your seat for the full 1 hour and 40 minutes. Directed by Nelson McCormick, the film follows a man named David, played by Dylan Walsh, who travels to different towns preying on single mothers to date them. Every state he moves to, he changes his name and appearance. He meets Susan, played by Sella Ward. The two quickly hit it off and become an item. When Susan's eldest son Michael, played by Penn Badgley, returns home from military school, he becomes suspicious of David's various activities. He and his girlfriend investigate David, and they're shocked what they find. Okay, so you'd have to have been living under a rock not to remember the 2012 phenomenon. Everyone thought the world was going to end again. 2012, a film that I personally saw in theaters when it first came out, was a sci-fi disaster film directed by Roland Emmerich, who is known for similar films like Independence Day and Godzilla. In true Emmerich fashion, 2012 features plenty of CGI calamity to go around. The story follows multiple characters, and it's just too many to name, who all cross paths throughout the film. They try to escape the apocalypse through technology. It brought in $791.1 million at the box office, which translates to over $1 billion today. Although it did big numbers, it's sometimes forgotten about, likely due to the other 2012 films or similar films that Roland Emmerich did in the past. Paul Blart Mall Cop. Can you believe all these years I was mispronouncing the title and saying Bart? We all know those people that just want to be in charge and pretentiously act like their position is more important than it is. That's exactly who Paul Blart is. The film stars Kevin James, a New Jersey single father, who's also an incompetent security guard. He lives with his daughter and his mother. He has aspirations of becoming a police officer, but he's unable to finish his tests when he collapses due to poor health. The comedy received negative reviews, but it still managed to gross $183.3 million worldwide. Paranormal Activity, shot in mockumentary style for only $15,000. Paranormal Activity set the standard and kicked off a trend of popular mockumentary horror films that would be seen throughout the next 2010s decade. It was the first installment of the series and originally debuted as an independent film in 2007. The story followed a young middle-class couple that move into their new starter home. They become disturbed by a demonic presence they sense whenever they try to go to sleep. The film stars Katie Featherston and Michael Sloat as characters with the same names. This film was one of the first of its kind, with the exception of probably 1999's The Blair Witch Project. As you see, 2009 was full of horrors and thrillers, and Orphan was no different. It may have not been the scariest, but it was definitely the creepiest. Kate and John Coleman, played by Vera Farmiga and Peter Sarsgaard, recently lost their baby, so the couple decided to adopt a 9-year-old child named Esther, portrayed by Isabel Furman. After several incidences, Kate starts to think her newly adopted daughter may be psychologically damaged. After researching Esther's past, she's shocked to discover that her new daughter is not who she says she is. A sequel to this film was recently released in 2022 with Furman reprising her role. Taken was technically released in 2008, but it made its way to American theaters in 2009. It was the first of the Taken film franchise. This action thriller stars Liam Neeson as a CIA agent and a security guard for a pop singer. His 17-year-old daughter Kim takes a trip to Paris with her best friend. Thereafter, they're kidnapped by Albanian human traffickers. He puts all his training to use to track down his daughter. This is one of those films you can watch repeatedly, so it's no wonder they made it into a film franchise. The Blind Side was one of those films that just pulled at our heartstrings, especially since it was based on a true story. This story follows a teenage All-American football star named Michael Orr, who falls on hard times. He's taken in by a woman named Leanne and her husband, played by Sandra Bullock and Tim McGraw respectively. Big Mike, as he's nicknamed, becomes a great asset to their family dynamic. He eventually reaches his goal and becomes the first-round NFL draft pick. The film received a lot of promotion, and after its release it earned Bullock an Academy Award for Best Actress. The Hangover was considered the comedy of the year, and it was the first film of the Hangover trilogy. It tells the story of Phil Winnick, played by Bradley Cooper, Stu Price, played by Ed Helms, Alan Garner, played by Zach Galifianakis, and Doug Billings, played by Justin Bartha. They all travel to Las Vegas for Doug's bachelor party. The next morning, they wake up with no memory of the previous night's misadventures. Doug is nowhere to be found, and they must locate their friend before the wedding bells ring. One of the most talked about films of that year, still to this day. The film garnered a Golden Globe win and became the 10th highest grossing film of 2009, bringing in close to $470 million globally. Coming out at the very end of the year, Avatar captivated audiences with its CGI and cutting-edge visual effects. James Cameron checked off another box office smash that he could add to his resume when he directed this one. Avatar grossed over $2.9 billion worldwide and close to $78 million in its first opening weekend. The film starred actors Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang, Michelle Rodriguez, and Sojourner Weaver. The story follows paraplegic Marine Jake Sully, who decides to take his place in a mission on a planet named Pandora. While there, he forms a bond with a tribe of aliens and falls in love with one of them. Like Orphan, a sequel was released in 2022 as well. I'm not sure what it was about 13 years later, but this film became a success as well. Honorable mentions. There were so many popular films in 2009, it was just impossible to mention them all. So don't get mad at me for not including Up or Fast and Furious. I mean, there were so many Fast and Furiouses, this had to have been like the 9th one. Of course, everybody remembers that the Twilight books and movies were huge. I know that The Princess and the Frog was the first Black Disney princess movie. District 9 was always on HBO. And yes, films like Obsessed and Not Easily Broken grew followings through BET airings. So did you enjoy this trip back to 2009? If so, tell me some of your favorite movies down below in the comments.